Hi, welcome. If you're new to my channel, my name is Mitzi. I am a frequency alchemist, a healer, and a guide. And today I want to talk about this idea of becoming, how we are always in the process of evolving, growing, healing, and becoming the next version of ourselves. So if you find yourself in a moment of unraveling or that you're expanding or even questioning who you are, I want to talk about that. It's not that you're lost, it's that you are in a sacred becoming. So the space about between who you were, who you used to be, say you were in a period of your life when you were raising your kids, or maybe you were focused on your career or just started your career, or maybe you got into a relationship or ended a relationship. That person is different than this person who you are today. That is a different version of you when you were in survival mode or um, career building mode or raising kids mode. That version, because we're continually evolving, is different from who you are today. So the space between who you were then and who you are today, who you are becoming for tomorrow, can oftentimes feel confusing. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel raw, and it can feel beautiful. Sometimes all different shades of any of those, and sometimes all at the same time. So when we're in the middle of it all, the raw, overwhelming, confusing, joyful, blissful stages of becoming, it can be hard to navigate this, right? For myself, I found it really isolating. Along my spiritual journey, I didn't often find people who were going through the same things that I was going through. So I found myself alone, confused a lot of the time, doubting myself a lot of the time. So maybe that's the same for you, or maybe whatever part of your life that you're navigating right now, trying to figure out the next right step, the next move for you, it can be a little overwhelming. When this process of becoming who we are, of evolving, is not a linear process. So I want to talk a little bit about the spiritual journey. Because for me, that's what it was about. My spiritual awakening began 27 years ago. It's been a long journey. And there were so many times in there where I felt like I was flying by the seat of my pants, where I kept searching for answers, would try things on. Some things worked, some things didn't. But there was this thirst that kept me going forward. Does that mean it was easy? Heck no. There was a lot of times that I struggled, a lot of times when, like I mentioned, self-doubt was a really big thing for me, and I didn't trust myself. That further highlights the sense of isolation. When we look externally, and in my case, I was looking at everybody else and they all seem to have it going on. They all seem to be managing it really well. And I didn't feel like I was at all. That's a really hard thing to navigate. So this process of spiritual awakening, of spiritually evolving, of becoming the next version of ourselves is not a linear process. It doesn't start from here and we go a straight path to here. We don't just wake up and suddenly know everything overnight. So it happens in layers. It happens in spirals where we revisit things again and again and again. And it happens in sudden floods of information coming in, of ahas, I got it, and also in quiet whispers, where in the quiet of the moment, or when you find yourself replaying the day's events as you're drifting off to sleep, something clicks into place. Any and all of these are ways that we move through this process of actually remembering who we are, of evolving into this next version of of ourselves and who we're evolving to be. So some of the common experiences that I've seen, and some happen for me, that you might feel along this journey of remembering, of awakening, is you might notice that you feel a detachment from your old identities, from who you used to be. This is a big one for me. And I just really recognized this not too long ago, less than a month ago. I was talking to someone and we were talking about our spiritual evolution and our spiritual journey and how we got here. And I recognized I realized that I did not recognize who I used to be. I don't recognize that person who was trying to keep all the pieces, all the balls in the air spinning at the same time. The person who was driven for answers, the person who was scared, that person who didn't trust herself. It is like night and day from who I am right now. So that's a really common experience. You might also experience deep inner questioning. Who am I? What am I doing? Am I on the right path? All of those things. Those were definitely in my world often. So that's a really common thing. You could also experience heightened emotional sensitivity. So for me, I have always been an emotional person or a sensitive person. It's just how I process the world is through my emotions. If this isn't your go-to, you might find yourself suddenly more emotionally tuned in, having more emotional experiences. So it just might be something different for you. Another thing that happens when in this process, a common experience, is you might feel this strong soul longing, deep inner longing, a knowing, a longing for something, for home, for familiarity, just some sort of longing that comes from deep within that you might not have any clear parameters around that. You don't know what you're longing for. I'll tell you, for me, I can remember this, and this has got to be 20 years ago now. I remember sitting in my bedroom at night, looking up into the night sky, and I had found, I think, the star Sirius. It was either that or Orion, the constellation. And I would just gaze out my window at night up into the dark sky, just feeling this pull, feeling this longing for home is what it felt like for me. There's this something I was trying to remember, something that was calling to me. I didn't have framework for it. I didn't have words for it, but it's sort of the thing that kept me driving, kept pushing me. It was a driver for me to keep searching for answers. So maybe that's happening for you. Maybe there's something deep inside that's calling to you that you really can't label, and that's okay. You don't have to have all the answers. These are just some common experiences. And even though we're having all of these things, it can feel disconcerting, it can be confusing. There's a reason that we keep keeping on. There's a reason that we keep moving forward. Because what happens as we continue on this journey of remembering who we are, really cool things start happening. So we start reclaiming our soul gifts. Things come on, our intuition seems to explode, or whatever gifts you already might be aware of, maybe on the periphery, come full force. Maybe mediumship, maybe you're really good at reading energy, maybe you're really good at reading people. Maybe like I said, your intuition is super accurate. Maybe you get dreams that sort of tell you what's happening or give you clues about things going on in your life. So whatever those are, they magnify. They come on full board the more we go down this road of remembering who we are. Also, as we continue this, there's this feeling or pull towards higher truths, towards wanting to know the deep truths, the big cosmic questions that we have to know, that are so compelling for us, that things that weren't on our radar before suddenly are in our awareness, and we spend a lot of time contemplating. You might find yourself in a situation where synchronicities come into play a lot more often, or like I sort of mentioned, your intuition, maybe your energetic sensitivities become heightened, or your intuition expands so that you become much more sensitive to information, to things that are going on around you. So as all of these things are going on, every step that you take into remembering, you align more with your cosmic essence, the true you, the you that has always been there, the you that got covered up from years of hardship, years of struggle, years of being in survival mode, years of conditioning that said you had to be this way, look this way, talk this way, act this way in order to be loved, liked, and accepted. This journey is about peeling away all of that so you actually remember you, this beautiful cosmic being that you are, this wise, ancient, galactic parts of you that are already there, waiting for you to rediscover, reclaim, and remember. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that happen. I've sort of sprinkled some in already about my story, but you might, if you're like me and have this experience, this ache of not belonging. I can't tell you how many times I felt that I just didn't fit in. I felt that I was different from my family. I was different from my friends. And so for a lot of my life, I kept that quiet because I was sensitive enough to know that if I started showing who I really was, people looked at me like I was weird, right? So it has taken me quite a bit of unwinding to let go of that conditioning. So that might be something that you're experiencing too. And I just want you to know that it's common. It's a challenge, but it's not that it can't be overcome. So as you continuing on this journey, you might experience a grieving of shedding your older selves, those older versions of you, the version of you that kept you safe, the version of you that managed the world around you, the version of you that got along so as to keep the peace. So when we start stepping in to a more truer version, and if it doesn't align with those older versions of selves, we let those older versions go. So sometimes that causes some grief, and it's okay. Allow yourselves to grieve. Allow yourself to grieve that shedding, that releasing, so that you can continue to move forward. You also, one of the challenges of this is you might also have a temptation to rush into something just to feel grounded, especially if you're spending a lot of time up in the head, mental exploration, in the ethers, exploring energy, different energy realms. If you're used to feeling grounded, like if this is something totally out of left field, that this wasn't who you were, this might be really off-putting for your nervous system. So there might be a tendency to rush into something just so that you can have that sense of groundedness. I think what I want to say about that is being grounded is not bad in and of itself. Rushing into something just to appease the nervous system might not be the way that you want to go. So what you could do instead is do some grounding exercises. And a really simple one, it sounds so simple that it doesn't seem like it could be helpful. bring all of yourself back. Deep breaths and actively, consciously pull all of yourselves out. All of the parts that are out there wondering about this or that, all of the parts that are doing all of the laundry and the housework and the grocery shopping and the raising the kids, all of the parts of you that are doing the checklist of all the things that you keep running in your head. When those parts are out there doing that, bringing them all, that adds to the sense of not being grounded. So bringing them all back, bringing all of yourself back into this moment is a really quick and easy way to ground yourself. So try that the next time if you get the urge to rush out to do something, just so that your nervous system can feel that sense of being grounded again. The other thing I will say about what's challenging about this particular road to remembering who we are is that our mind oftentimes demands certainty while our soul is asking us to trust. This was a huge one for me, huge. Trust was always a big thing for me for lots of different reasons. So I understand that this one can be particularly challenging, especially when we're raised in a society that says, show me something and then I'll believe it. When we're in the process of remembering, we're being invited to trust the unfolding. There's nothing to show. There's nothing tangible that says, yep, we're on the right track. The invitation is to trust, to take that leap of faith. So I just want to point that out. The mind can be screaming for certainty, for demanding proof. And if you can quiet that and hear the whisper of your soul, just asking you to trust. So as you're going along this journey, instead of thinking that you're falling apart, if you're dealing with these challenges, I invite you to think of it as a sacred dismantling. So when everything old feels like it's crumbling, it's because your foundation is being restructured to hold the bigness of who you really are. You can't get to that version of you that exists who is wise, ancient, galactic, powerful, if you're still covered up with all of the different versions of you that were necessary in order for you to survive. So in order to reach this version of you, we have to dismantle. We have to release these versions, the conditioning, the belief systems that said you had to be quiet, that said you weren't allowed to shine your light, that said your gifts aren't real. So think of it instead of, as all of these pieces are being released, instead of, like I said, falling apart, think of it as a sacred dismantling and see how that shifts. So it's not that you're broken as you're going through this process, it's that you're breaking open. You're breaking open to allow more of the true you to come in. So a couple of ways that you might anchor this in: give yourself permission to not have all the answers. Give yourself permission to sit in the stillness. This is a big one. This is a hard one. I did a previous video on this, of sitting in the void, and how extremely difficult this was for me, and is. It is getting a little easier, but compared to how it used to be. So give yourself permission to just be. So much happens when we do this, when we give ourselves the space, the time to integrate, to soften, to embody everything that we've released, to integrate the releasing of that, to embody the new ways of being without the conditioning. when we sit in this stillness and listen, that's where the magic is. This space is the gold at the end of the rainbow because it's rich with unfolding. It's rich with frequency, transmissions, information that is so easy to miss when we go, 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 go. Programmed to always be moving, always chasing, grabbing that next thing. And then we miss the quiet. We miss the really, really deep and important work that happens when we just allow, when we're just in stillness. So that's my invitation to you. So I would like to bring through a light language transmission to help you in the process of becoming, to help support you in the sacred process of becoming, helping to soften the resistance, dissolve old constructs of identity, and anchor into the truth of your soul so that you can gently activate the remembrance of who you have always been beyond the veil. So this light language holds frequencies of trust, surrender, self-acceptance, and multidimensional recognition. So if you're new to light language, it is a soul-to-soul communication. It is one of my gifts that turned on about 3 years ago now. Totally out of the blue. It was not on my radar. But for me, it's an ancient remembering. It's a remembering of energies and frequencies that I don't have human words to translate. So the gift of this is that when I transmit these frequencies and these codes, you receive them, your higher self, your soul receives them. It's something that bypasses the linear brain. So your brain does not need to interpret it, does not need to translate it, does not need to massage and manipulate it in any way. It comes into your system. The frequencies work their magic. Your soul, higher self, your higher beingness will know what to do with it. And all you have to do is allow. If it's not meant for you, it won't land. Won't stick to you, won't cause any problems. It's just not meant for you, and that's totally okay. So I invite you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, release any tension or stress that you're holding in the body. Another deep inhale in through the nose. And as you relax, just drop your shoulders. It's really easy to carry stress and tension in the shoulders. Just drop them, let them relax. And one more inhale in through the nose. And as you exhale, bring all of yourself back to this moment, this present moment in time. Tashirikete kimi ni anyo shurukota kanai na shurukota inai na naoru shirikete no yo shurukota kawa taka shurukota I wa taka shurukota wa like shurukota wa taka wa like naru shirikete kawa wa taka shirikota kapapi taka I shakaru de kiti takaru to koru takani takaru shurukota kapapa taka I. So there's a remembering that is yours for the taking. Arago shurukotaku pupuni takarin shirkataka taka takare shurukotaku tameya ya shurutaki takamaru shukotaku pakari shirkataki takarin chakataka nakatakorutaka taka paru taka. In order to grab this remembering, you're going to have to take a leap of faith. Takari shirkatako papa ni takari shirkataka papa takarin shirkataka ainan taka shirkatako. All the things that you're currently holding onto are illusions. It's how the game is played. You're actually here To break through the game. Taishrakataka papatakanishrakotoko umanin shirkotaki takai utakanaka shirkataka uman. Ayu sharakataka ah. Mai taka sharakataka ama takar shirkotoko takanino shirkotoko takai aro ai shirkotoko aya takashu. But in order to break through the game, you're going to have to release the hold that you're holding on to. Au shirikotaku pumpo, au shirikataku puputuku, au shirikataka taka shirikata oh shirikataka, ai shirikataka, mai natako tu, ai shirikataka If you pause to take a look at what you're holding onto so tightly, oh shirikataka papatikiti, nai shirikataka takaina shirikataka upai, adaka upaka takanin takashirikataka, horu shirikataka, iman takashirikataka With eyes to see and ears to hear, you will see the illusion of everything that you're gripping so tightly. Horu sharakataka, hahu sharakataka, haru sharakataka, amapataka shirikataka I. Tai naka sharakataka uka. Tai sharakataka pa u takar shirikataka taka shirikataka I. There's a sense of urgency that's coming through. Almost like it's not that time is running out. No, not that. The time is now. The excuses that you've been telling yourself are just that, excuses. And so the message is the time is now. Leap now. What do you have to lose? Yeah, I understand that there's fear around letting go. Oh, shataka, oh, shataka, oh, shataka, takashirikateke I, orusha, takara, sharakataka, 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 oh. And this is where trust is involved. He sha horoko hu, he sha horoko ora ma kakshirikataka pi, pakashirikataka pu, takapu, takarmi shirikataka ma tishirikatake, pishi, tishirikatake, tishirikatake, tashurikotaka o, tashurikotaka o, tashurikoto. Oh, shatakaka shirikataka. Oh, shatakata shirikataka o. The invitation is to take the leap, and what you find on the other side when you remember who you truly are, when you come home to yourself, is beyond anything you've allowed yourself to dream of. But there's a part of you that knows, or is a part of you that remembers. And one last message, you are never alone. So there's like this visual of a safety net. Your guides, other off-world beings, benevolent beings, your team, members of your team, they're like this safety net. You must take action. You must be the one to initiate action, to take the leap. But they are there as a safety net to catch you. So I invite you to take a deep breath and just notice what's different. Just allow these frequencies to come in, sift through the molecules of your being, and just notice. Notice if there's anything different, even if you can't name it. Let yourself integrate at whatever pace is right for you. There is more to you than you've ever been told. So much more. More beauty, more power, more depth, more truth. So every step that you take, every breath that you take to anchor this in calls more of that truth to the surface, calls more of your true self home. So just sit with this. Notice what happens over the next 3 to 4 days. You can listen to this again and again. Every time you listen to it, it will deepen the penetration of the frequencies. Okay, the first time works to loosen the top layer. Each subsequent time you listen to it gets to a deeper layer. So I would love to hear how this lands for you. If you have any questions, I would love to be able to answer those. Just drop those in the comments. And any other thoughts that come up after watching this, after listening to it. And I'd love to hear where you are on your journey. Thanks so much for watching.